And today we're talking about two things I think are really important and they shouldn't ever be overlooked because they can really be helpful. That's reflection and reconciliation. Now we don't have a ton of time, so let's get right into them. All right, let's start with reflection. What is it and why is it so important? Imagine this, you're in the car with a friend and they're driving and they're going really fast down the street. And then you notice they don't have any mirrors in their car. There's no rear view mirror up top. There's no side mirrors on either side of the car. And you realize all they can see is what's right ahead of them. Well, think about it. You probably wouldn't feel very safe, right? Because they don't really know what's going on behind them, what's going on around them. All they can see is what's right ahead of them and they're moving pretty fast. Well, look, around the holidays, life moves pretty fast. In fact, for some of us, life is always moving fast. And if we don't have those little mirrors, those little points of reflection in life, we might get in an accident because we're not going to be able to see what's going on around us. We won't be aware of where we've come from. We won't really have a good sense of where we are now, what's going on around us. We'll just be able to see the road directly in front of us. And that's not really the safest way to drive. And it's not the best way to go through life either. It's so important to take time, pause, and reflect. Say, Lord, what's going on in my heart? Like, how do I feel? Am I operating from a place of like fear and anxiety? Am I operating in joy and freedom? You've got to take time to reflect, kind of take your own temperature, figure out where you are, and only then can you figure out where you want to go and how to get there. So reflection is super important. All right, that was reflection. Now what about reconciliation? Well, the word cilia in the Latin comes from the word eyelash. So reconciliation literally means to come eyelash to eyelash, to come back to that close eyelash to eyelash connection with someone. In other words, when we need like the grace to get the sin out of our vision so our vision isn't blurred so we can see God clearly, and we also let God look right at us in our honesty, in our weakness, in our humility. We're just real with God. We say, here's where I've sinned, but Lord, I don't want to live a life of sin. I want to see you clearly. That's the beauty of reconciliation. And as we go to reconciliation, we can feel the weight just lifting off of us because we come back in that right relationship with God. It's a beautiful sacrament. All right, so reflection and reconciliation. Why are they so important in this season of Advent? Well, think about it. Advent exists so we can have time to make space for Jesus. That's the whole point, to allow ourselves time to make room for God coming into our lives in a new way this Christmas. Think about the innkeeper in the nativity story, how Mary and Joseph had to have Jesus out like in a field somewhere, in a barn or a stable, because there wasn't any room in the inn. They went to the innkeeper and he said, I'm sorry, there's no room for you here. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to look at Jesus this Christmas and say, sorry, there's no room for you here. Instead, we want to really create room. And reconciliation is one of the best ways to do that this Advent. Now, if you're kind of freaked out about reconciliation, I'm telling you, you have nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be nervous about. The priest is there to help you. Let them know. They'll kind of walk you through it if you're uncomfortable. It all starts with reflection and sort of the examination of conscience, which your leaders will give you a little guide or an aid to help you with that. And then you reflect on like, how have I failed to love? How could I love better? How have I failed to love myself, my neighbor? How have I failed to love God? All those kind of things. And once you kind of get a sense of like, here are the ways I've kind of strayed from God, turned away from him, rejected his plan, all that kind of thing, you take those into confession. You talk to the priest. The priest will just listen to you. You say, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been this long since my last confession. And then you just unload that stuff and feel the weight lifting off your shoulders. The priest is in persona Christi, and so it's like God hearing your sins because the priest is in the person of Christ. So God himself is hearing your sins through the priest's words, through the words of absolution. The priest extends his hand after you say the act of contrition. God himself forgives you. It's God forgiving you. So reconciliation is an amazing encounter with God himself. All right, let's recap. Reflect. Take a temperature, figure out what's going on in your life and your heart. Take a look at what's happened in your past, what's going on right around you, and what you see in front of you. Take some time to reflect and get a grip on where you are in your life. Maybe it'll help you work through some things. Maybe it'll just help you be really thankful for all that God's done in your life. And then reconciliation. Bring your sins to the Lord. He's going to help remove all that junk from your life so that you can actually make more room for him this Christmas. You guys, I hope you have an incredible Advent. I hope you really enjoy reconciliation today and have a very Merry Christmas. Take care.